I have a question. I have a very delicate relationship with my mother. I don't feel any love from her, and it hurts me a lot. What can I do? Can I try to improve this? These difficulties between mother and daughter, they have a root, and it's important to know where these difficulties began. Is there an event in your life? Is there a moment in your history when you realized it was a turning point in changing the way your mother treated you? Be aware of this. Search within yourself. First, if this memory exists, this true memory, I never thought, where did my relationship with my mother, begin to be difficult? Because look at the first moment of life. In fact, psychologists say this, right? That it's the deepest bond we can have in life. It's between mother and child. Why is that bond? The child is born, right? The father already has a 9-month deficit, right? For 9 months, we are gestated inside a woman's womb. It's impossible for us not to have a close relationship with her. It starts there. But the moment we are thrown out into the world, that's not when we begin to live. We are placed in a context that doesn't have the same protection as the womb. So we are exposed to competition with our siblings. While you are inside your mother, she has exclusive dedication to you. When you leave, you begin to compete for space with your siblings. Is it worth sharing space with the people who are part of your mother's world? And usually in those moments when we have to, something causes a crystal to shatter, right? But this relationship needs to be cared for, because we will discover that at a certain point, we begin to compete for affection, right? This is natural in human life. This competition is natural within our homes. It's an unconscious process. We still don't want to know about it. We're constantly competing for attention, right? And the more aware we are of this, the better we'll manage it. Many problems at home between parents and children are directly linked to this competition. It's one child wanting to be better than the other. Why? Because I know that when I'm better, I get my mother's attention. Or it's the other child wanting to be the worst. Since they can't be the best, they'll be the worst of all, because they know that at least they'll provoke anger, they'll draw attention. They will draw that attention. So, the family environment is one of disputes. There's no other way. And that's why we need to manage these disputes, well, very consciously. The moment you realize you're being dishonest with your mother, demanding from her what she can't handle, being selfish, forgetting that she needs to take care of others too. So, often these traumas, many people who act like this towards my mother don't like me. She likes my brother much more than me. You have to be very careful with this, because sometimes we're being unfair, or you, as a mother, need to be careful because sometimes you actually prefer a child. And this is natural, people. Sometimes a child meets your expectations a little better. Sometimes they're a little more like you. It's natural. It's easier for us to like someone who's similar to us, right? Someone who shares our preferences. So you have to be very careful not to reject, not to put aside someone who somehow has difficulty with you. Wine with family? The family bond needs to be well managed because of this. Disputes, contentions, right? We even think that, but do these things happen in our homes? Yes, they do. Wherever there are human beings. There's this natural process of this dispute. I want the attention of others. I want my father's attention, my mother's attention, my siblings' attention, and we often act around this search for affection. Interesting, folks, but affection? It's the greatest need we have in life. And what is an emotional life? You need to love and be loved all the time. A priest who has good friends, who has good relationships, solid human relationships, will have a much easier time living his chastity than one who doesn't, than one who is lonely, than one who is closed off in his own world. Within our home, affection is the main nourishment you can see. It's affection that makes us cope with life. It's how much we were loved in the right measure, not too much, not too little. When we are loved too much, we get too upset. People get too sly. We want everything to be done according to our will. When we are loved less, we become needy, often aggressive, right? The two opposites are bad. But now the balance makes us a little more firm in life. It is this balance of affections. So I am in a place where naturally, but the loved one, that the other is natural in human life. That's it. But then we start to manage it. Who needs to manage it? Everyone. As a son, I need to, Be honest, no. My mother pays attention to me, but she has to pay attention to the other two. I'm not alone in this house. I won't be selfish. And my mother and father will have to be sensitive too. It's easy to love that child, so let's be careful not to love them too much and forget about the others. Is that how life works? Affection, it needs to be rationalized from time to time, because if it's just them, we run the risk of being unfair to the other. Affection for oneself, if it doesn't have a little reason, helping to clarify it, it can be highly destructive. It's that old story, we love too much. And by loving too much, we suffocate. We don't allow the other to grow. And that's dangerous. So we need to strike this balance. We all need this transformation, this conversion. And we hope you can. Ease your heart. And today, who knows, maybe this program can help you to add a touch of holiness to your life. And you can go to sleep a little better. When did you wake up, Father Fabio? I'm 29 years old, and I've been thinking a lot about how much harder everything seems to be for me. The more I fight to achieve something, the further away it seems. I graduated from tourism college as the best student in my class, but after 4 years, the college still hasn't issued my diploma. And what makes it very difficult for me to get a job is that I didn't give up on postgraduate studies, and now I'm taking a technical course in computer science. Even so, I can only find temporary jobs. Many people who graduated with me have already graduated and are working, but as I said, I can only find temporary jobs because of my professional life. In my professional life, everything seems so difficult. Father, my daughter, sometimes we have it. Sometimes we go through moments in life when everything seems a bit tied up, a bit truncated. I have a friend who I tell this to. While everything goes wrong for him, his bank card freezes every week. He goes to withdraw money, but it doesn't come out. Apparently, it did. He has to make a mess at the bank again. Everyone receives the right mail with a certain password, but it doesn't come. So sometimes we think I'm going to use a bad term, right? To have someone else, to have a vultures. People talk. Excuse me for bad expression, but this can't apply to our lives. We have to do everything we can to ensure we never have this complex. Because if you have this complex that things only go wrong for you, it's possible that psychologically you're prone to these problems. You have to start thinking more positively, and start discovering your attitude. Could it be that there's something about your personality that's triggering all these successes? Because I don't believe in bad luck. I don't. Honestly, I really don't. I don't believe in luck, nor in bad luck. I believe in perspicacity. Do you have attitude? People in life need to have attitude for life to work out. You can even say, Father, but she was underprivileged. She was in an unfavorable situation. Okay. But life needs to be constantly this experience of clarity so that we can be the right person at the right time. In fact, many times things go wrong for us. It's because this lucidity of starting to have, of being attentive. Now is the time to do it. Why hasn't your diploma come out yet? It must be missing an attitude to go out there, to demand what is rightfully yours. The college can't neglect your diploma. It's not possible that after 4 years of college you still need your diploma. And no, it's not in your hands. So we often lack attitude. Sometimes I see it. We're raised within that sometimes, right? You meet people. I personally was raised within a context like that, and we become very resigned to things not working out. And at a certain point in my life, I needed to almost undergo psychological chemotherapy, right? To expel that from me? Sometimes we harbor within ourselves a very resigned spirit. You're very much from a simple family, accustomed to not having opportunities. So you always stay like that with your head down. Yeah, it didn't work out yet. But why didn't it work out? Well, I went there. They couldn't explain it to me. We can't tolerate that. The world won't oppose someone who knows where they want to go. Now, if you show yourself to be a pushover without attitude, it's very likely that things will start to go wrong for you. That's why I'm saying we need to be careful all the time that we do things the right way. Now, you touched on an issue that I think is fundamental in the education of our children, and I graduated from college. There's no shortage of diplomas in this world today, Now there's a shortage of technical specialties. So, isn't it time we started thinking a little about the choices we're making? You who are young, you who are thinking about which college to go to, I'd think twice, because sometimes a well-done technical course will give you much more job opportunities than a diploma in hand. In fact, I'm having the grace, the joy of taking over the vice presidency of the Dom Kudo Foundation there in the diocese now. And the foundation of a cult is one. We are an institution of the diocese, not the 11 Foundation, whose objective is to do good, to do charity. But we don't want any more welfare-based works. We know that welfare can make people feel comfortable. And do you know what the Dom Kudo Foundation's main work is today? Training and qualification of young people in professional fields. In fact, this is the way forward. If we want to effectively help someone today, it's about giving them the opportunity to learn the trade. Like you, for example. Take all the technical field in the world today, the specialized jobs. So, I need a bricklayer for my house. My father was a bricklayer. My brothers learned the trade, but not just one of them still works as a bricklayer. Today, I have friends in Taubat who work for a construction company. They call them priests. And today I see 20 plasterers there in Taubat. Even so, there will be a shortage. There's a labor force for so many services. So, oftentimes, we're heading to college and we're forgetting about practical professions. There will come a time when we'll need an electrician, but we won't have any. There will come a time when we'll need 11. We won't have any bricklayers because everyone is heading to college for that. But practical life is losing ground. So if you have the possibility of doing something, you say, you suddenly have 11 aptitudes. So, I like working with figs. I like that. Go study. Go take a technical course in electrical engineering, electrician. Get trained. Stop this idea that everyone has to have a college degree, because that's already happening, In fact, this is something we can reflect on, because many of our children will face serious unemployment problems in the future because of the excessive colleges we have today in Brazil, which has become a business, right? Everyone has college today. Our cities are full of colleges, and often, when we need a good employee who knows how to do good carpentry and joinery work, we don't have them. And this is a worthwhile issue. So, taking action, I was telling the foundation, do you know which is the first class that will graduate now? They are specialists in image restoration because the foundation had a museum there with many pieces that need be restored. There was no money for that. We sought a partnership with Cesc and Ceci. I'm sorry. Sanai and Ceci are there receiving qualified training so that they can not only restore the images due to restorations a museum needs, but also be able to work elsewhere and take the profession forward. What's interesting is the first class that will receive this training in Brazil, and that will come from Taubat. There are 26, and around 26 or 27 young people will specialize in image restoration. So is it worth keeping this? We need to think about this, right? Today, people are often facing unemployment. It's because everyone has a diploma, but they don't know how to do much with it. So, the diploma is important. Do we have academic training? Is it important? Yes. But we also can't forget that technical training is just as important, and that today there's a vast job market in need of these professionals, but there's a lack of specialized labor to make this happen. There is no harmony all the time. The coming, precisely because it is alive, it is movement. Heraclitus, a philosopher, one of the first, right, that we had in the history of philosophy, he said that life is becoming. We are in the process of becoming in constant movement. If it is impossible for you to bathe twice in the waters of the same river, because when you jump, it is one. When you leave, it is already another. While you are there, the river is passing, in movement. While the river is movement, it is also chaotic. It is out of order. But it is also beautiful. It is refreshing. It is healthy. Forever. The two realities, all the time to be observed. It is a question that I always like to ask, isn't it? What causes it in people when I arrive in an environment? Yes, because I also identify as one who brings confusion, as one who takes away peace. I train like one who eats, causes trouble. Yes, I'm not free from that, but I don't want to be that. Sometimes you notice some people, So used to being like that, they don't bother themselves anymore. Is the environment good when they arrive? Does it get heavy? Too much criticism, nagging, nauseated, annoyed? No, it doesn't have to be like that. I'll have to deal all the time with precariousness, with chaotic realities. Because we're like that. I have a nature within me that can be harmonious. I fight for it. I seek in my daily life to establish it within my conduct, within the daily agenda. I try to include my self-knowledge, the opportunity to learn how to deal with myself, so that I increasingly know my mechanisms, why I feel this way, why this indecision. Because I find it easy to get irritated by that kind of reality, by that kind of stimulus. I do my homework, but I don't stop being a fool. I walk in admiration toward the harmonization of all this, but the whole time it's an experiment. It turns out great. Sometimes we become burdensome people for others because we don't have the sensitivity to realize that we are like this, that we are used to being like this. We complain about everything to everyone. We complain. We've lost, now we don't. We no longer have the perception of how much we complain. And of course, we, being like this, become a burden to others. Because no one likes to be around a person who complains all the time. Or else we become gossipers and find it natural to gossip all the time, to comment on life there all the time. We arrive at an environment. No, we provoke nothing other than gossip. We do not provoke good fruits, which is regrettable. We waste the opportunity to transform the environment with our life, with our way of being. Life is like that. Life has opposites, as the song says. The right has a time, the free has its price. I need to identify in my daily life all these realities, understand them, and absorb what is favorable from all of this, because sometimes we are tempted to think that the contradictory cannot favor us. Yes, you can. When I experience my contradiction, when I experience my hypocrisy, when I experience my transgression, there I have the opportunity to learn good rules. In my weakness I am strong, St. Paul said. It is a discourse of contradiction. I know that you face the same challenges as me, that we are the same. We may even be at different stages, but at some point in life we were the same. We had the same fears. We rejoiced in the same causes, and we faced the very same challenges. And one of them is this. We managed to extract from ourselves. We managed to pull from the depths of this wounded humanity the courage for the gospel to become a reality. Many live longer. I believe that the more mature we become, the greater our ability to live with life's opposites, even because they are everywhere. If there is one thing we need to lose naturally, it is a naive view of things. First, gender vision. What do we need to overcome? It is that everything will be as we want it to be. It starts there. It is already a leap of maturity when we discover that the world will not turn. Things will not be the way we imagine or say. All reality is immersed in the living process, which gives it a characteristic of also being chaotic. This opportunity of area that we have to offer to the other, what Christ has already done in our hearts, the barriers that have already broken down within us, or everything that we have already managed to achieve within ourselves through daily effort, of being able to choose between what was given to us genetically, what was conditioned to us socially. This space of choice as a wonderful opportunity for you to work on your temperament, for you to overcome obstacles. What do you have in your personal history? They were given by other people. And maturity is precisely when you begin to understand the world without the illusions that everything will be harmonious. Overcoming these illusions, these understandings, you need to start from the principle that you can love a person, that you can establish a bond with them, but it won't be perfect. The only perfect love that exists is that little rose that doesn't exist in gardens, so it's the only one we know. All others are marked by qualities and limits, and it's only possible to experience love, to experience relationships. Good relationships are possible if we have this enlightened awareness that they won't be perfect. Here today we are talking about how often our love can be the fruit of our neediness. Is this what Jesus talks about? When I'm not free to love, when I'm tied to my needs, I want to love to be loved in return. I want to love to be admired by others. I want to make a gesture of charity so that it can resonate, and others come to admire me. It's all a concern with externality. The love that I love must first act in the deepest dimensions of my life, where everything is behind the scenes, where there is no publicity. We are justified all the time. He pretends to be Christian all the time. If we pretend well, he expels Jesus. We reject him. Do you think I don't observe this in myself every day? Without fear of recognizing here for you. So many times I am hip-hop. Why am I not able to make the same choices as Jesus? What am I not able to recognize what truly needs me? Where does the royalty of Jesus need to exercise without vanity, without excess, without arrogance, even in ideas? Who is interested, my people, when a person has this natural living God within them? They naturally gather around them many other people who want to live the same experience. Then you understand why the gospel is contagious. There was a person truly converted to the gospel. It becomes an attraction, not in the superficial sense of being an attraction, no, but a provoking attraction, of being a point of convergence. Do we experience this a lot within our home? When you identify that there are some people, it's usually a father, a mother, an aunt, a grandmother, someone who has the strength, this charisma, to bring people together. How does God use these people to harmonize difficult situations, to create peace in the context of difficulties, to be that thoughtful person who helps us understand the middle ground? These people are fundamental in human life. If we want to reflect on our Christianity with great responsibility, we will have to reflect on this crime. What do we believe? In what do we do with what do we believe? I should know, since, according to Revelation, the world will end, it really will. This God will return to take a people chosen by him to be. What is the characteristic of these people? Please, point me in the Bible to an answer to this. Look, the whole apocalypse is written there. It is in service of community. I've already said this here. What is the sign of the great kingdom, right? It's the fall of the Roman Empire for the community of St. John. The most important thing is to end the Roman Empire, the rule of the Roman Empire. So, all those apocalyptic prophecies, they're directly linked to a historical reality, a need for liberation of the people under Roman power. Of course, this has eschatological repercussions, right? It's not just a historical interpretation. What is an eschatological interpretation? It's us taking what was theirs, for us to interpret it for ourselves today. When we talk about the end of the world, today we are also talking about a process of chaos that the universe is experiencing, and that soon human life will be impossible. That's one thing to talk about. At the end of this article, another thing is to talk about the end of the world in a way that has a connotation of what Jesus speaks of in the Gospel of St. John. And that is, we are in the world, but we cannot be the world, right? Let's work with this expression as being the end of the world, what the apocalypse refers to. It is precisely this finalization of everything that is bad and that needs to end, because the experience of evil in the world leads the world to chaos. The experience of evil makes reality chaotic again, because the world is what is in order. The unclean is what is out of order. The apocalypse is a word that is always at the service of this uncleanness that needs to return to being the world, of that which is out of order and needs to be reestablished. And so we have a hope of the parousia, that Jesus will return, which is an eschatological hope, but it is also historical. About this eschatological return, I can't tell you much, because even the sacred scriptures speak of it. We don't know when or how it will be. When will Jesus return to the world? When I, as a person, take on the commitment and responsibility to seal it again. When I, as a person, take on the responsibility of being Jesus for those who are by my side. Jesus has returned. I'm not talking about an eschatological return about that. When if you ask me, I don't know how it will be like more about this return to history. About them, we can talk about it. We can talk. And this is human matter. I always like to say this. Folks, I don't talk about what I don't know. I won't keep asking myself questions about what I can't answer. It's how I'll achieve it after I die. There's no point in asking that question. Just a moment to know. It's an absolutely uncertain question. Do I want to know what it will be like after my death? I can't, but what I can do is dream, is imagine. But that's a plausible answer. Now, what is my life like in this regard? I can talk. What is your life like in this regard? You can talk. So if you're not able to occupy yourself with what your death will be like, what it will be like after you die, occupy yourself with what you can. And often we waste a lot of time asking ourselves these kind of questions. And sometimes we lose the quality of our lives, projecting our concerns. Start all the time in this announced end of the world. I don't concern myself with this reality. The only thing I allow this end of the world to come into me. You know what it wants? It's the urgency to do today what I need to do, knowing that Jesus will return here. It could be at any moment. Puts me in a perspective of vigilance. So I want to be a good man today. You can be a good woman today. Let's be the best human being we can be today. For one simple reason. Jesus is returning, and the moment I organize myself as a person, that's when I emerge from chaos, that I stop being filthy. I enter this perspective of the kingdom of God. This is very beautiful. The chaos that the world is in, this pollution that the world has, this ecological problem we live in is also a human problem. We cannot deny that our glaciers are also flooding our lives. We also cannot deny that our climate is complicated, that you also have storms inside you, that you also live with the constant danger of hurricanes and almost destroy you as a person. It's not just California that caught fire. No, there are many people with an inner fire ending up destroying everything, burning everything. The fire of hatred, the fire of lack of love. There are many glaciers falling, many people being destroyed by these floods and the dark and terrible flood of our eyes, of our laziness, of our dissatisfaction, of our frustration, and us, the ecological problems of the world. They happen, they are present all the time. But I dare say that today the problem is human. It is much worse than everything that is happening around us. And, in fact, what's happening around us outside is merely a consequence of our inner disorder. It was precisely the greed for a new world that caused humanity to destroy the structure of what kind of world we have. So, if the world today isn't a world of pollution, if pollution is taking over our cities today, it's because we're polluted inside too. Our mentality is polluted. We're too evil. We're constantly seeking evil. We're constantly opting for evil. And then the catastrophes that destroy cities happen with the same intensity within us. And you know this very well. I'm not speaking of a theory. You too must have been, at some point in your life, a victim of your inner storms. It wasn't a few times, in fact, but it was a few times that you also had your New Orleans completely flooded. It was a lot of times that your heart burned and suffered from the fires that are typical of today's world, from the injustices that are typical of today's world, with sufferings that are inherent in today's world, and you burned and destroyed your homes, just as California was also destroyed by the fire that devastated those in that region. Life is like that, my people. The tragedies are outside, but that's because they're within us first. And tragedies often happen outside, to the extent that we don't take care of our inner tragedies. Return to simplicity. Search for your roots. Put out the fires. Holy flood. Preserve the glaciers. There is so much within you that deserves care. And sometimes, simply returning to your roots, you begin to cling to what these. When we get distracted by our accidents, we fail to see what is essential. May God bless you. May God help you rebuild your inner city, so worn out, so destroyed, so damaged at times. And be happy as much as you can. One thing I am certain of, you deserve it. Do you have a question, Father? Throughout our lives, we often come across people who, by our human nature, we cannot like. I want to know what is the correct attitude we should take. Pretend to love these people and on certain occasions have caused them harm, or ignore them as if they never existed in our lives. Thank you, my daughter. Neither. Isn't it? For God's sake, doing harm without them realizing it's hurting? No. First, we need to identify the following: life, closeness. It happens based on two rules. When I meet a person, when someone visits me, even if it's by email, by word, by a letter, you will have a natural reaction of sympathy or antipathy. What is it? What is antipathy? When you realize that there is no natural bond of closeness between you and that person, why do we have sympathy for some people and not for others? It's a mystery, my daughter. We don't know how to identify this and be sensorial. I don't know. It passes by me as people I like, that I want to get close to, and passes by other people that I don't. That I don't have that natural closeness. This is part of life. Human groups, they are born that way. It's not we make the choice. Friends, you choose. Is it different based on the sympathy that confident? It's a mystery. My daughter, we can't identify it. Is it sensory? I don't know. It passes through me as people I like, that I want to get close to, and passes through me other people that I don't. I don't have that natural closeness. This is part of life. Human groups, they're born that way, right? We make choices. You choose friends. Is it different based on the sympathy you have because of spiritual kinship? I like to say that. I think that when we love someone, even if you have no reason to, you naturally like that person. You like listening to them. You like being with them. It's because there's a natural spiritual kinship. Now, it might not be reciprocal, so be careful. Because sometimes you just keep insisting. Not kinship that only exists on your side. I say again, friendship is a choice. You choose your friends. Relatives, not. For example, you didn't choose your brother. You didn't choose your mother. You didn't choose your father. Only within our home. We have to live together. So we need to find the resources to help us overcome this natural antipathy. Why? Because he's my brother and my mother, my father. What if I don't have a natural movement of love and affection for this person? Because of my situation, because of my closeness, I'll have to try to overcome it and ask God for grace, right? Through prayer, through a loving attitude that you'll have, through greater care that you'll have for that relationship that's more difficult. And we're funny, aren't we? Because sometimes we think this doesn't exist, but it does. Sometimes a mother has this with her child. Sometimes a mother, no matter how much she says she doesn't, has a more natural movement towards one child than another. So that's where care comes in. A mother doesn't have the right to put off any child. They are children, and you'll have to somehow meet their need for love. Now, you'll have to live with this inner conflict of how you'll manage your preferences. I'm not here to say whether there is or isn't a preference. I'm here to reflect. When I identify that I naturally prefer someone in my home, I need to be careful that this preference I have for that person doesn't nullify or harm my ability to love others. Okay then, you choose your friends. You'll be guided by these rules of dislike and like. Okay, Father, but what about at work? I can't choose who will be in the same room with me. The same rule applies to the same situation. The rule has to apply because I need to reduce the stress it causes me. People, living with dislike causes a lot of stress, and you know very well what I'm talking about. Do you know how difficult it is to deal with someone you can't swallow? It seems like everything they say is offensive. It seems like the way they behave bothers you. These are human situations that we often have no control over. I personally have it. I recognize in myself what often drives me away from people. My daughter wants to send me away and demand things from me. That day you saw me, not faces with someone else, and didn't tolerate what I do with them. I think it's all natural for me to be held accountable for an obligation I have. It's okay now to be held accountable for affection. If I'm held accountable for this or that, I'm making my confession. It's my fault. Yeah, I don't find it easy to deal with people like that. I like natural relationships where there's no force, they're rough, and there's no exaggeration. I'm like this. I was born this way. I grew up this way, and I naturally approach people who treat me this way. Okay, that's my way of being. That's my difficulty. Now you have to know what yours are. What brings you closer? What drives you away? And I discovered there, in that work environment, what you need to do to reduce this difficulty and start establishing bonds. What do you need to work on with that person? Your head. That's where the rule of survival comes in, which does involve falsehood, you know? I think it's even natural, and I think it would even be very interesting for you to have the courage to sit down with that person and say, well, you must have noticed that we have relationship difficulties, right? What could we do to help each other? Because it's natural that sometimes she has difficulties too, and when we have this clarity, when we have this ease in clarifying these aspects, we already take a step towards getting it right. Because sometimes we make mistakes because we Not us. The other was with us. We make mistakes with another. It's because we haven't been able to clarify this yet. I know that sometimes you need to hear this. Sometimes you have such a pessimistic view of yourself. Sometimes you interpret yourself as worse than you are. Sometimes you measure your life by the value of yours. Life enough already, says the burden of others, with those who betrayed you. Sometimes you measure the ruler of your worth with the ruler of those who never loved you. Sometimes you measure your worth with the ruler of those who never respected you. Measure your worth with the ruler that God has, which is always of love and mercy. There is no way. Life will not stop for you to suffer. Life will not ask permission for you to suffer. But believe, when you have the strength of God in you, nothing can beat it. Therefore, always be in your place, aware of the value you have in the God who lives. The God that is in me, that is in you, prepares us for all battles and without fear of making mistakes. That beautiful smile you offer me here today, it only exists because you cried too much. If you have to forgive someone, forgive them today. If you have to love someone, love them now. If you have to declare your love, it should have been yesterday. Because life is a bullet train, partner. When we least expect it, it's time to go. Because this life is too short. Don't waste it on oils on ram, colors with skinny ones. Do you know why sometimes we have difficulty believing in God's love? What you don't always love yourself enough. And when I don't love myself, when you don't love yourself, there's no point in the other person saying they love us. It's a difficult struggle to try or love someone who doesn't love themselves. All the love you offer them, all the love you offer will never be enough. Do you know why? Because when I don't love myself, I will never believe that you could have seen something special in me. So, a person who doesn't love themselves will hardly feel loved by another person. That's why we sometimes make so many mistakes in relationships, because we encounter people who are very unloved by themselves. And what about God's first act of conversion in us, my friends? The first act Jesus made in the lives of those he met was to change the way people looked at themselves. The first act of conversion isn't understanding the moral rules of your church. It's not understanding the gospel from top to bottom. The first act of conversion is looking at yourself with more love, having more respect for yourself. Because when you love yourself, the devil can't do anything in your life. When you love yourself, you become shielded from what can destroy you. Those who love themselves don't prostitute themselves. Those who love themselves don't stay in a toxic relationship. Why would you stay with someone who only hurts you? Why would you continue dating someone who only puts you down? No. Self-love. It's that inner voice that says, oops, you don't deserve this love. You deserve better. Or when the drug dealer brings you drugs, you go, oops. Your self-esteem will tell you what this drug will do to me. It will keep me from my dreams. It will bring destruction to my life. I've never seen someone deal with drugs and be fine. When addiction knocks on your door, you'll immediately think, why would I bring into my life an addiction that will limit my ability to make decisions? No, I want to be whole. I want to be whole because I love myself. And when I say I love myself, it becomes easy to understand that God loves me too. Does he love you? Sometimes the best way to forgive is to chase the other person away. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be respected. You deserve to be respected because that is God's desire for your life. Do you know why we need people who truly love us? What are they that make us walk and fly on the Lord's wings? They are the ones who make us reach our best. Every time you love someone, you truly love them. You're bringing that person to their best, he said. And that's what God wants from us. He designed us to be much more, to gain, to expand our consciousness, to grow our capacity to love, to forgive, to do justice wherever we go. Do you know what the greatest wealth you can have in life is? Should I love and be loved? All other achievements only make sense if we have someone waiting for us to share with. And do you know the best way to evangelize someone is by reminding them of their value? That's how God takes care of us, by placing people who love us and help us know our value, holding the hand of those who are by our side. Do you know when God defends you? When you have the right friends. You know when God defends you, when he has access to the defense you need, when you allow yourself to surround yourself with the right people, with people who want the best for you and have the courage to make go away, those who have no respect for you. Dignity? But today I have good news to deal with. God has not given up on you. Say it with me. God has not given up on me. Do you know that it is the greatest wealth we can have in life? It is not something that money can buy. Money can buy many things. It is not a problem for you to work honestly and having the courage to make those who have no respect for your dignity go away. But today I have good news to deal with. God hasn't given up on you. Say it with me. God hasn't given up on me. You know, because the greatest wealth we can have in life isn't the money that buys. Money can buy many things. It's okay to work honestly and be able to buy what you dream of. But never forget, what will make you smile at the end of your life? After all, an anti-Noah you gained isn't the house you built. What will make you happy at the end of your life is when you look around and realize that people chose to stay with you because my ability to love is much more important than my bank account. My ability to love, in fact, will help me understand what money will give. If I don't love, if I'm not able to share who I am and what I have, can I have the most beautiful bank account in the world? I won't be a beautiful person. What makes us beautiful is how much we love. That's what you experience there. Look, when you look around and discover that, the most expensive square meter in the world isn't in Paris, isn't in New York, isn't in Joao Pessoa. The most expensive square meter in the world is the one that puts you next to the people you love. What when you love, you work to achieve. Achieve what? Money can handle it. But you'll do much more than that. You'll work to achieve what only your heart can handle. And that's what I wish for you. I wish that you have someone to love. And when you're really tired, still A for resource verse. Because when you learn to love, you discover the meaning of God's love in your life, who is capable of exchanging kingdoms because of you. I will ask God for a miracle today. I will ask. I know you need it a lot, yours too, but I am sure that a miracle exists, that when it is realized in our lives, other things begin to improve. So today I will ask God for the miracle of you loving yourself again. Will you ask God today for the grace? For you to love yourself again, to heal your wounds? For you to abandon your addictions? Because when you love yourself, do you abandon your addictions? When you love yourself, do you demand respect from others? Whoever wants to enter your life, may they remove the sandals from their feet, because your territory. He came out with me and said, Lord Jesus, look over me. Do you know me? How many times have I disrespected myself, allowing disrespect from others? How many times have I not loved myself, welcoming not love of the other? How many times have I not loved myself, when I became addicted to that which distracted me? But today, Lord, I want to place my heart in your hands. Take care of me, Lord. Don't let me get lost. Anoint me with your love, with your mercy, because I know that I am a grace. We need to love ourselves deeply. And the cycle of self-love, it's very difficult to experience, because we experience it so often. It's self-loathing. We experience self-loathing that is absolutely harmful to us. We have a lot of difficulty managing our failures, our minimal failures. Suddenly, you couldn't be who you wanted to be. Suddenly, you didn't do what you wanted to do. From the most basic choices, my friends, what in philosophy we call accidental, right? Because it has nothing to do with the essence. It's still just accidental. It's liberating. We make accidental choices all the time. The clothes we're going to wear, the place we're going to eat. But there are choices that are essential. They are those that modify your structure, that modify who you are. What is interesting about it? The experience of you realizing that in your day-to-day life, maintaining self-love means you reconcile with the unfortunate accidental choices you made. And depending on the accidental choice, it has repercussions on your essence. Yes, there are 1 million men to choose from. Whenever you're a woman with a lot of possibilities, then you choose that guy. Then you chose that guy. It was accidental. A first moment is accidental. Why is it accidental? Because it could have been someone else. It's not a reality you can't replace. Then the relationship with that person, which at first was accidental, deepens, 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 and suddenly it becomes an essential relationship because it begins to change the deepest structures of your personality. The person who is accidental becomes essentially with you. And then, sometimes, these people can be terrible in our lives. They can ruin us. They can take us off the axis of our truth. They can despoil us. They can hurt us. They can even ruin us emotionally. So, what was accidental first? Later had an essential repercussion. So that's why we're constantly experimenting, making accidental choices that we become frustrated with. We get very frustrated with accidental experiences. Then this frustration plays out, right? It has consequences on our essence, on our truth. So we undermine the very structure of self-love. It's self-love that protects us from the public, including from the story of being offended sometimes, right? When I love myself, when you love yourself, when you have respect for yourself, every time you're slandered, is it difficult? Yes. I'm not talking about an easy stance. What are you going to try to do? Ignore the slander. Don't waste energy on slander. Don't waste time with the slanderers. It's the same thing as falling on the asphalt and scraping your hand. And when it starts to heal, you'll scrape it again. Is this cultivating the offense? Is this cultivating slander? Is this strengthening the slander within us or the negative energy that someone offered us again? Who decides not to keep this? It's the soldier of self-love, the guardian of self-love, then the guardian of your high love. The guardian of your self-love is what will do A sort. Keep this. Don't keep this. Keep that, but don't keep that. This instance is self-love. I'm going to invent here. I don't know if I'm talking nonsense. If you're there, if you're present, psychologists who want to correct me, but I could say that self-love is the most intelligent, emotional instance we can have within us. But saying that is completely wrong. To think that self-love is the most intelligent instance within us, the one that will discern everything we will keep or throw away. It's interesting to think like that. I like to think like that. If I'm wrong, what will I correct myself with? But the instance of self-love is something that is very purified, very right. It's the same as conscience. When we talk about conscience, I always like to say that God speaks to us through conscience, because conscience is a place within us that is very pure. Why don't we sleep with a clear conscience that we fill it with impurity? Does it know why we do wrong when our conscience is not purified? We don't sleep, we feel very bad. We feel uncomfortable with the decision we made or with what Gil said. So, what's interesting for me to think about? Mine? My conscience is a place of my self-love, and it's self-love that protects us. You're being invaded all the time. I'm not afraid of making mistakes. I'm sure you're being invaded all the time by people who respect you and who invade with good things. Being invaded isn't all bad, right? I'm invaded by good people. I'm wide open by good people who bring me positive energy, who bring me good words, who bring me good proposals, who bring me our good actions, good vibes, good? Great. But we're also being invaded. These are people who bring us many burdens, many weights, many unpleasant situations. And this is where we're going to do the triage. What will we choose to keep from all this invasion in our lives? Positive invasions, negative invasions. So is it self-love? This guardian, this soldier, who will be able to sort out what we will keep within ourselves and what we will reject. So it is if I offend you? Pay attention. Why are you offending me? Does it have any connection to your truth? It is quite possible that it does. It is quite possible that the offensive word is showing you what you don't like to acknowledge. And do you feel scared when someone said it because they are somehow making public what you would like to remain forever behind the scenes? When it is slander, no, there is no connection to the truth. So go in here. Leave here and don't come back. The offenses that hurt us are the ones that reveal the truths we want to hide. When they are not in the least bit in line with our truth, we are not even shaken. They go unnoticed. No, Father, but what do we do when we are slandered? Of course I'll be shaken. Of course I'll be upset. And of course the offense hurts. Yes, my people, the first thing we need to distinguish is that offense, it's very different from slander. When I come back, someone offends me. Is he telling me something? Does it concern me or not? So, If it doesn't concern me, it's slander. So there's a natural filter in understanding. The natural filter of understanding will help me distinguish whether what the other person is saying to me is an offense, or if what the other person is saying to me is slander. If the other person is slandering me, that's different. They're not offending me. 12, it may even be offensive. But what he's doing is more serious. What I referred to. Yes, we have enormous difficulty recognizing what is fragile within ourselves. It's very difficult. I have difficulty recognizing my own defects, and when someone offends me based on a defect I have, and I do everything to keep that defect under wraps, it's disguise. I immediately feel that indisposition that the other person is telling me. So, yes, the other person offended me because they somehow found a truth within me. What they're saying, if it's not slander, the differentiation is there. If they didn't make it up, it's offending me because in some way, it touched the reality of my personality, of my way of being. That bothers me. So are you clear? It bothers me because I know that, in some way, it's minimally aligned with the truth that I have to hide. Likewise, when I hear financing, how absurd what this person is saying, or writing, or speaking, right? So what happens inside me? I naturally go through a process of distancing myself. And I say no. What this person is saying, what this person is writing, has no alignment with my truth. Sure, it hurts, we get upset, but it won't last. If you don't let it linger inside you when I say it, goes in one ear, out the other. That's why it won't last long. I'm not minimizing the unpleasant effect people have on us when they offend us. I'm just saying that when we know it doesn't connect with our truth, we let it go. We don't feed back, because what is it that hurts us so much in our behavior? And often, we adopt highly destructive behaviors because of this. I listen. I listen. I listen. I like it and stay with that. Got it? Then I keep creating that vicious cycle. So the person writes something very unpleasant to me in the comments. If I know it's offending me, I pay attention. Why is it offending me? Does it have any connection with my truth? Yes, it does. Okay then, let me pay attention to what the person is saying. Who knows? Maybe this offense might even help me identify it in my behavior and making a change, positively altering something in me that could be better because of criticism that comes to us from outside. People, when do we want to grow? Even criticism from those who don't love us helps us. Write this in your heart, in your understanding, when you want to grow. Even criticism from those who don't, Lama will help you grow. Everything can be transformed into an instrument of transformation. And the cool thing is that when we identify that a word is often slanderous, it has no connection to our truth. That word has no meaning. It doesn't make sense to us for any reason. What do? It goes in one ear, out the other. As it passes, it hurts. As you read, it hurts, but you don't let it linger. So that's what I was talking about. Yeah, I have it. One is horrified by simplifying what is important to the other. So I don't want it all. It's mine, with my way of thinking. To make you believe that what I offended you with isn't important, it isn't. But I wanted you to pay more attention to what actually offends you. If it's there offending, there might be some reason. To ask if it's slander, if it has no connection to the truth, if it's completely out of line with what you know about yourself. It goes in one ear, comes out groove, it doesn't linger. It can't linger because it's an exercise in self-love. Is it difficult? Yes, it's very difficult. Even today, in the answers I gave, I said, look at this. It's an extremely painful process because it requires a lot of spiritual maturity to come to conclusion. The other is offending me because he's right. I don't like to recognize myself that way, but he's right. When someone calls me Louise, I'm possessive when someone calls me envious, when someone calls me vain. What kind of water is it? What we say, discourse, working on what others perceive in us, concerns our personal truth, so they cause suffering. So we suffer, but we don't. We should interpret that warning as an opportunity to get out of this, because many times, or rather, sometimes it is even good to suffer. Yes, sometimes it is even good to suffer. We should not suffer. It's when what the other person is saying is just a projection of themselves. They're projecting themselves onto me. And we should have this emotional, spiritual maturity that would put us in this mindset of thinking, no, the other person doesn't have it. There's no reason in what they're saying. So anything else that comes out that is said again, if in the process of passing through here and leaving here hurting a little, it's normal. We are human. Words bleed us with the same intensity with which a dagger can bleed. They bleed our sensibilities. They bleed what is weak in us. So it's not a problem for you to realize that it bled, that it hurt to hear what you heard, that it hurt to read what you read. Just do the exercise of rationalizing it. What the other person wrote is not your truth. What the other person said is not your truth. So if the other person is saying, if the other person is writing, it's an impression they have. And that shouldn't bother me so much. Because you know that yours truth, it belongs to you. And you are already duly informed that what he is slandering you about does not correspond to what you say. Ultimately, my people, that rule applies. Others imagine us. We know who we are. And between staying with what the other thinks, and God knows, between what God knows about us, I have no doubt that it is much more worthwhile to stay with what God knows for each of us. Therefore, let us maintain our perseverance. Let us maintain our attention. Let us keep our sensitivity sharp to separate offenses from slander. Offenses are often associated with a truth we do not want to acknowledge. Slander is a situation that others have invented for us. Therefore, because it has no connection to the truth, it will only bother us during the process of entering here and leaving here. If you were offended, if it hurt, pay attention. Who knows? Maybe someone else is dealing with it. A happy opportunity for you to correct yourself. Did you arrive here in a way you would not have chosen? Was it being offended that you felt? The encounter with the truth was painful. It was unpleasant. But it was also a happy opportunity that you had to move forward and evolve. I say again, the great desire of each of us, the great commitment of each of us should always be evolution. We want to achieve the best version that is available to us. So that's it. We are religious. I'm Christian, Catholic, happy, and if, within my concept of faith, Christianity made sense to me, I don't know what your religion is, but I know that your religion has tools to help you reach the best of yourself. The best of yourself. The best of yourself. That's what God wants from us. Whatever the religion, what we need to understand is that it will need to be a place for us, an opportunity to reach the best of ourselves. I, as a Christian, say all of Jesus' encounters were one. They were to promote the best in the people he meets. So, even if it comes through an offense, pay attention before you get stuck in whines.